Ahoy toy! Welcome to Transfixed, the channel that's out of this world. No, the channel with a magnetic... No, I don't know. Let me think about that. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at StarCom, Part 1, the figures. Because I've been looking at StarCom recently and getting a couple of items I didn't have before and really renewing my appreciation for the line. It's awesome. StarCom is awesome. I did a video years ago about all of my StarCom collection, and it was actually a pretty successful video, at least as far as my content goes. And I thought maybe it's worthwhile going back and doing each piece individually, at least each vehicle, especially because I picked up a couple of new vehicles lately and discovered the cartoon. The vehicles are really amazing, and I'm just marveling at the engineering, and I really want to get into that. So I thought I'd dive back into it. I'm going to review all the vehicles that I have in my collection, but I thought for the first video, I might as well start with the figures and the overall line. So StarCom debuted in 1986, and it was available in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe. With some slight differences in the pack. This is an example of the card back, and it was made by Coleco. And the gimmick, well, actually it had two gimmicks. One was the Magna-Lock. It had these magnetic feet on the figures, and the other one was these motorized power deploy features, which kind of worked in concert a lot of the time. And there was also a cartoon series, which I didn't know when I was a kid. I had no idea there was a StarCom show, and I don't know why, because I was into all that kind of stuff, and I would have watched that cartoon if I'd known it existed. So I've just been watching it recently, and it's actually quite good. It's a good show. I mean, it starts off with a very slow first episode where they're just doing some space rescue stuff, but it then gets good. And there is sort of a main cast of characters, which these are all the figures that I have. Luckily, I've managed to keep most of my childhood collection. I don't have the Shadow Bat that I used to have, and I don't have a couple of the figures. I remember the first two I got were these guys, so I'm going to start with them. They're still my favorite, probably because they're colorful and maybe they remind me of the Lego Spacemen. I had Sean Reed here and Rusty Caldwell. Let's go into the general figure construction. So StarCom figures are all the same size. They are just over 2 inches tall. I guess that's about 2 1/8 or 5.5 centimeters. Why am I using the yellow one? That doesn't really have a good contrast. Anyway, there we go. So they're very small, but they're fairly articulated for their size. They have joints at the hip and the knee, which is nice. And the pins usually match the color, so that's good. And then just a swivel for the, let me move that out of the way, for the arms. And then the head, they're all helmeted, and they have a ball joint head, so they can turn around and up and down a little bit. And they also have these clear plastic visors, which are very easily lost. A lot of times if you're looking for these in the aftermarket, you may have a hard time getting them with the clear plastic visors. They're all with kind of a smoky tint to them, and the bad guys have a sort of a purple tint to their visors. So they all have magnets in their feet. That's why they're stuck to this piece of metal here, which is kind of cool. You can stick them around the house if you want. And they also stick to their vehicles. On the back, there's 2 pegs here, and a screw, of course. The 2 pegs are for the backpacks. So they all have a backpack that's a different sculpt, the 2 pegs there, of course, and then a small plastic hose, a lot like the G.I. Joes have for their plastic hoses, although these are thinner. So you just put the 2 pegs into the back, and that works very well. And then, of course, you can hold this little gun here, or a fuel pump, or whatever accessory they need. Pretty big gun, but they're pretty small figures. So StarCom, the US Space Force, has 3 branches of their forces. So they've got Starbase Command. Sean Reed here is just a humble fuel pumper, not a very glamorous job, but the guys who look like this with this sort of gear in the middle here are the Starbase Command. And by the way, in the cartoon they explained that this contraption here is used to control the Magna-Lock boots. And then we have the Astro Marines. No, not you. I said Astro Marines. Easiest way to distinguish them, of course, is this different uniform with this distinctive piece here, and they are kind of the ground forces. And then we have Starwing. No, not that Starwing. And these guys generally have the pilot's flight suit like this. So in my lineup here, you can see these 3 Astro Marines, these 4 Starbase Command, and then these 3 Starwing pilots. And so yeah, these guys all kind of look like that. And then the ground forces all have sort of this type of look. This one has a good contrast. So they all sort of have this type of belt here. And there's even little rank pips. You can see he's got one square, sort of Sean and Rusty there, whereas the sort of higher ranking fellows have a lot more rank insignia. And he gets the gold trim, so you know he's important. And there's often a badge on their helmet. Not all of them have this, but he's got these 2 cross rifles here. He does not. And then for the Air Force fellows, they usually have this sort of setup here. So these are pilots, and you can see they have their little emblem there and this style of suit. Now, On the cartoon, I found out more about the characters. I didn't really know. I mean, I loved these when I was a kid, but I didn't really know what to do with them or what was going on here. So the cartoon informed me more about what's going on with these villains. They are just human villains, but they have a lot of android, robot type soldiers who look nothing and sound nothing like Cylons. I don't know what you're talking about.
StarCom Star Wars. Major flag. Attack.
And there's 3 main characters. So I guess they took the highest ranking from each segment here. So Slim here. I need the card. I just picked up this carded figure, which is very nice. I got this from Transformerland, which is a great resource for used Transformers, but also a lot of other stuff. They've got Mask and G.I. Joe and obviously StarCom. So I need to refer to the back here to see who all these people are because I can't remember. So this is Colonel John Griffin. Slim is his nickname, and that is yeah. Luckily, I had all these 3 guys because he seems to be the head of the command sort of forces. And you can see there's also like a little file card here. So if Sean here is a fuel pumper, but he also is a soldier. Let's see. PFC, Private First Class Sean Reed, Battle Group, Starbase Command. So the command figures look like this in general. And Slim here is, I guess that would make him probably the highest ranking, at least in the cartoon or among these figures. I'm sure there's some fleet admirals or whatnot somewhere. And then for ground forces, we've got Paul Corbin, or Crowbar. And then for the Star Wing, we have Colonel James Dash Derringer. So these are the 3 main characters of the TV show. Crowbar has a kind of an awesome blonde mullet. And then Slim has this cool mustache here. And then Dash, he's got black hair on the figure, but in the cartoon he has just sort of a mop of brown hair. And you can see they've also got some emblems on their forearms. So really detailed. I mean, for the size of the figures, it's amazing that they have this level of paint on them. So yeah, I found out that I had these 3 main characters the whole time. So lucky me. And then for the bad guys, I've got, I think this is Major Clag. A lot of these came with vehicles. So anybody you see on the back here is individually carded, and other characters came with vehicles. Not all the vehicles came with figures, but a lot of them did. By the way, I'm getting a lot of information from a great website called StarComHQ.com. So if you're interested in learning more about StarCom, they have a lot of listings and pictures of all the figures and vehicles, and also some FAQs about how to clean them up and restore them, the show, all kinds of great stuff. StarComHQ.com. So this guy actually came with a Shadow Bat, which I don't have anymore. He's got his little evil mustache here, and also an emblem on the top. And most of them generally had this sort of triangular suit with the flared out shoulders.
In keeping with their triangular motif, 80s villains being notoriously fashion conscious.
And then some sort of triangular insignia. So this looks like an inverted Triforce, but that's the symbol of the Shadow Forces, led by Emperor Dark. Now, Emperor Dark was a mail-away figure, and he was unique. This guy came with the Parasite, which attached to the Shadow Bat. We'll get more into that later, but that's what the bad guys look like. Yeah, so unfortunately, I no longer have my Aegon 6 robot here. I don't know what happened to him. So there aren't a lot of villains. It's just these 2 rows here that are villains, and then the rest of them are all the heroic StarCom forces. It's a shame that it wasn't more successful. I think Coleco really put a lot of quality and effort into this line. But there's just so much competition in the mid-'80s with other toy lines. It's really different times. That pretty much covers the figure part of it. The TV series was only 1 season. It was 13 episodes. And I guess it wasn't very successful because, as I said, I didn't even know it existed. There was a DVD release of the complete series of all 13 episodes. And I don't know if you'll be able to find it unless you go to somewhere like eBay or the secondary market like that. You can also find it online, through the usual dodgy means. But it's also on YouTube. You can find the episodes on YouTube if you want to watch it. I recommend it. It's pretty good. They're not always about the bad guys. It's not like Transformers with the Autobots, Decepticons, and Joe versus Cobra. The bad guys are there. They're working against StarCom, but it's not always about that. It's usually StarCom's trying to do something, and sometimes the bad guys are there to mess it up. Sometimes it's just something mundane. They're doing a training mission or helping some farmers.
There. It's okay, girl.
All right, farm boy. Hand over that chicken.
Not without a fight.
Daltrey, it is forbidden. Give him the chicken.
Lunch.
It's also interesting how the bad guys kind of work against each other, because they're evil.
I'm evil.
So that is nice to see some interesting character put into there. But it manages to be interesting, in my opinion, so check it out if you can. That's all I got to say about StarCom Figures. I'm going to do more reviews of all the stuff that I have, so that'll be about probably 5 more videos like this to cover all the vehicles I own, plus the playset. And next up will be the Battle Crane. I think this is the first one I got, so this is a great little vehicle, and I'll be covering that next. Thanks for watching.